The PS5 has now firmly made its way onto the gaming landscape, and if you're one of the lucky so-and-sos who have got their hands on a console, you're probably wanting to make the most of it. To help you narrow down the masses of games available, I've come up with 11 PS5 games you should absolutely play on the PS5. I've skipped out on the more obvious mentions like Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War, as they'll probably be on your radar already, and if they're not, then take it from me, they should be. And you'll want to keep a beady eye out for the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut 2, which, unfortunately, isn't quite out at the time of me producing this video. So, with all that out of the way, let's get on with it, shall we? Here's the 11 best PS5 games you should play right now. PlayStation. You've heard of Dark Souls. You've heard of Bloodborne. Now, it's time to go back to the very beginning with Demon's Souls. Bluepoint Games has completely remade and enhanced Demon's Souls from its cobblestone, blood-stained ground up. So you can slash and perish your way through the dark, foggy Boletaria and all the horrors within. Considering I invoked the names of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, you can almost definitely guess what's in store when you boot up Demon's Souls. Learning enemies' attacks and patterns, a bit of trial and error when it comes to wielding your sword, and uncovering hallowed shortcuts to link up the expansive map. Like Dark Souls, you'll want to keep as many of your souls as you can, which are dropped by the enemies you kill, but you also drop them when you get stabbed, shot, sliced, decapitated, etc, etc. As souls are Demon's Souls currency, no souls equals no experience points, and no weapons shopping for you. Demon's Souls is stunning on the PS5, making full use of the new tech to bring it back to cursed life and take advantage of the DualSense's haptic feedback, and is a must-have if you're into Soulsborns. There's a reason it was the launch title for the PS5. Live, shoot, die, and live again in Returnal. This roguelike has become quite the stealth hit, with Celine's journey to figure out what the hell is going on in the planet's hellish biomes providing one hell of an incentive to keep exploring the violent, endlessly dangerous world of Returnal. Weird things are certainly afoot, with an oddly suburban house nestled in the nooks of each area. What does it all mean? What's reviving Celine each time she dies, and what force is keeping her on the planet? And why? Returnal is full of questions, and to get answers, you're gonna have to get to grips with the changing biomes, enemies, and weather patterns, and treat each run like it could be the one that gets you right to the very end. If you die along the way, you will lose a chunk of your items, but that doesn't mean all is lost. Certain boons last beyond death, so not all hope is lost. You'd better get used to dying too, though, as if you want to get to the bottom of Returnal's story, you're gonna be doing a lot of it.
Everything has changed.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a joy. It's a kaleidoscope of colours and environments, weapons and gadgets, each and every planet shining in its own unique way from a dinosaur jungle to a bustling neon-lit metropolis, and you absolutely must play it on the PS5. This is a native PS5 game, so it takes advantage of everything Sony's console has to offer, from the exquisite textures and ray tracing to the DualSense's uncanny haptic feedback. Story-wise, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart won't disappoint, and to be brutally honest, while it did get me right in the heart every now and again, it's the combat that's making me beseech you to buy it. Wacky weapons seem like gimmicks at first, but after playing with them for a while and combining them with other gadgets, it doesn't take you long to figure out the havoc you can wreak using a garden sprinkler and a glove of doom. Not a fist of doom, as I originally thought. That's something completely different, but we don't kink shame here. Anyway, long story short, play Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Ratchet?
Who? This one is for all of you die-hard PlayStation fans out there, and anyone who really liked their PS4, as Astros Playroom is full of secrets from way back to the PlayStation 1 and references that someone just starting their PlayStation journey will get. As well as being a showcase for the PS5 and putting its tech to the test and looking mighty fine as a result, Astros Playroom is a nifty platforming puzzler game that bursts with love for the PlayStation. Affection shines through in every gaming icon cameo from Aloy to Nathan Drake, and the eye-catching environments, hidden secrets, and characters that your little bot runs into keep this from being just a shallow demonstration of the PS5 and the DualSense's capabilities. Doesn't hurt that it's free on the PS5 either, so while you're waiting for other games to download, you can kill some time with your Astrobot pal. If you're simplifying a Plaguetale Innocence, you can whittle it down to the same broad vibe as The Last of Us, but in a rat plague-infested medieval France with some eerie undertones. At the centre is the fraught relationship between the siblings Amicia and Hugo. Amicia, who has spent most of her life resentful of her younger brother Hugo and her mother's fierce protectiveness over him, only to become his protector in turn when the Inquisition destroys everything the pair ever knew in their quest to find out why man-eating rats are plaguing France. The main mechanic at the heart of A Plaguetale Innocence is that the rats, who move in giant undulating swarms, flee from the light, which Amicia and her slingshot have to use to help her and Hugo bypass the Inquisition and anyone who threatens their survival. Tense puzzles await alongside some really dark segments too, and if the gritty portrayal of a France under siege by rodents isn't enough for you, then trust me, the central mystery about Hugo's condition is revealed gradually enough to keep intrigue levels consistently high. Half horror, half puzzle. A Plaguetale Innocence is well worth your time. Just make sure you play it with a lantern nearby. Even if you don't have a PS5, you should really play Control, as it's just solid gold. Eerie, unnerving bureaucracy around objects of power, the labyrinthine oldest house and the enemy lurking in its bones, a central mystery around Jessie and what happened to her brother, and a janitor who just knows a lot and turns up in odd places. Control is part thriller, part noir, and part wields devastating powers to delve deeper into the Federal Bureau of Control and figure out what's turned its employees into deadly, haunted hollows that want nothing more than to serve the entity waiting in the Bureau's depths. Control's Ultimate Edition is an upgraded version of the base game, especially for next-gen consoles, and you'll want to get every last scrap of next-gen-ness out of it, using the 60 FPS performance mode. It also comes with both DLCs, so there's plenty to play, and considering there's nothing else like Control on the market at the moment, you should seize the chance to play and see this unique game in its ultimate form. Creative types, this is the game for you. Fill this monochrome world with colour with your paintbrush in this heartfelt puzzler with enough story to fill multiple paint cans. While you can paint the world any colour you see fit, the puzzle element comes in with how various parts of your surroundings interact with each colour, meaning you're solving puzzles with your brain and a glob of paint too. Gut punches hide in Chicory's cartoonish world, and they don't just come from bosses. The dog you play as has their own anxieties about being the new paintbrush wielder, considering the almighty talent of Chicory, who's unexpectedly given up her position as the wielder of the paintbrush. That all might hit a little bit too close to home for some of you, including me, but Chicory is full of moments like these that show it's a lot more than a puzzle about colouring in. It delves into imposter syndrome, the fear of failure, among other concerns most of us can and will identify with. Paint and play more to unlock new abilities with your brush, help out the inhabitants of this black and white world, and slowly piece together the mystery of the black roots and where all the colour has gone. Don't be ashamed if you get a little bit sidetracked with colouring in the lines or finding just the right colour palette for the woods and your eyeballs. Look, you know how this goes by now. Lady Domitresque. She's the core reason to get Resident Evil Village to witness her pure power and understand why everyone has serious heart eyes over her. But apart from our tall queen, Resident Evil Village is a horror romp you really should not sleep on. It's campy in places and the scares in the first half are to be reckoned with, and although the second half gets a bit too COD-like and loses the tension, the Resident Evil Village upgraded version is still worth picking up on the PS5. If only for one moment involving a mansion and a certain thing that starts hunting you. Just don't expect it to vibe the same way as Resident Evil 7 and you'll be fine. Spider-Man Miles Morales isn't an entirely standalone game, more along the lines of an expansion to Spider-Man on the PS4, but boy is it a heavy hitter. You step into the spider-webbed shoes of Miles Morales and his new Spidey powers under the tutelage of Peter Parker, from the streets of Harlem to wider Manhattan. The core gameplay is the same as the original Spider-Man on the PS4 with a few changes as throughout the game, Miles is learning the ropes of being the next Spidey. So his thwipping skills are a bit on the rough side to start with. It's well worth sticking with Morales on his journey though, as his extra powers spice up the rhythm of combat you might have got too used to in the original game. Miles wields an electricity-like venom ability, and a camouflage skill that's great fun to use to befuddle various minions. You'll want to witness these new abilities in their unfiltered glory, so, just like in Control Ultimate Edition, Spider-Man Miles Morales has a 60 FPS performance mode on the PS5, which shines when you're launching yourself across Manhattan, and those frame rates of a seemingly weightless Miles just glide. If you played and loved Spider-Man on the PS4 and recently got a PS5, Miles Morales is probably the best way to start your PS5 journey.
My time.
Couldn't quite get enough of Final Fantasy VII Remake? Do you still hunger for more Midgard action as well as a cheeky little bump to textures, a 4K graphics mode, and, of course, a 60 FPS performance mode? Then, guess what, buddy? Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is for you. Playing through the entirety of Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't all that Intergrade offers, as with it comes the Final Fantasy VII Episode Intermission Edition, centered on Yuffie Kitsuragi, a ninja from Wutai, which you'll doubtless be hearing more about when Remake Episode 2 comes out. As always, Shinra is the big bad of Intermission, with Yuffie trying to steal the ultimate materia. She always was kind of sticky-fingered. So, basically, as well as getting an upgraded version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, you get an extra story arc too. Who could say no to that? Disco Elysium: The Final Cut is one of those games that will turn you into the kind of person who asks their friends if they've played it, and when they say no, you'll launch into an impassioned speech of how they really should give it a try. Trust me, that's what happened to me. Step into the shoes of a detective who's had better days trying to make it to the end of this one case without completely falling apart. And yes, that's all the detail I can really give without spoiling anything, as Disco Elysium rejects a concise summary. The Final Cut edition adds extra story quests and voice acting for every single line in this RPG. And I mean RPG in the most essential term, as your detective can turn out a multitude of ways. There have been some bumps on the road for Disco Elysium: The Final Cut on consoles, but regular patches have been released since March 2021, and it's running much smoother than before, so you should honestly get it in your eyeballs stat. There's nothing else like Disco Elysium around right now, and maybe me saying that it's the closest thing to a modern-day Planescape Torment in terms of depth and scope might tempt some of you towards it a bit more. So hey, I tried, but trust me. Disco Elysium is going to grab hold of you by the innards and won't let you go even after the credits roll.
You're big boys, you can handle it.
And that's the 11 best PS5 games that are absolutely essential. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer for more videos about video games, as we have a new one out every single day. You can also follow us on Instagram at Team Eurogamer, where you'll get daily updates about videos we have coming out, when we're doing live streams, and glimpses behind the scenes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go, so remember to stay hydrated, folks, and I'll see you next time.